Depression Quest is a text-based game on Steam discussing the topic of depression. This game was created by a three-person team. You take the role of a nameless protagonist with an ordinary life. You have a significant other named Alex, you have friends, you have a job, you have family, you also have depression. You are given a text to read and some options from whence to choose. Some of these options have been stricken out to let you know that you're not able to choose them. You're too depressed to pick that option. But you have some options that you can choose from that will either lead you towards healing or hurting. So you're trying to juggle your depression, social life, family life, and work all in one. And really and truly, this whole thing is going to take you about an hour if you read everything, or you could probably pull it off in about 10 minutes or less just skimming through the text and getting the gist of it and making the decision from there. There are multiple endings that go along with this, but none of them are really of any consequence. You just end up having a conversation with your mother about how life is going at Christmas dinner. Either, in every aspect, you are extremely honest about things that are going on. That's basically what the game is. I can sum the thing up in about a minute. So let's talk about this for a moment and discuss some of the positives, some of the negatives, and then I'll give my base thoughts of this. Let's talk about positives. First of all, just like in real life, your decisions can affect your mood. Now, before anyone pulls out the torches and pitchforks, let me explain. I played through this twice. I tried to make the best decisions I could, the best and the worst. And in every event, the depression was still there. And that's something that we need to bear in mind, is that the depression is still there. But certain decisions did affect my mood. It affected how bad the depression came. Now, I'm not saying that our choices will always make depression go away, or that it will make the depression go away, period. But there is some truth to the idea that our decisions can affect how strong our depression or anxiety may have a hold over us. That's what I'm referring to when I say that our decisions can affect our mood. That's the first positive. Next, the game focuses on the reality of depression. It exists. It is terrible. And everyone is going to react to us differently when we talk to them about it. You have the opportunity to talk to your mother, to an online acquaintance, to a high school classmate that you haven't seen in a long period of time, even your significant other, and to discuss with them, this is how I feel. Now, in these instances, you have different characters who react differently to it. You've got family members who don't understand. You have friends and others who do. You even have a friend who helps you find a therapist. And so you have these individuals who are reaching out to you. And one of the things I want to mention is, I mentioned, family that doesn't understand. The game doesn't portray the family members as, no child of mine will ever suffer from depression, what's wrong with you? It's more along the lines of, your family still cares about you, but they don't properly understand what's going on, and that colors the way they view what you're going through. And so I do like the reality of some of your choices. Even when you make the right choice, things may not always go the way that you want it to. I also do like that there's no actual ending to the game. And I know that sounds really weird, but there's no real everyone lives happily ever after, or your darkness overwhelms you to the point of, no return. I think this is a positive, as you might play through a game like this and you want the light at the end of the tunnel. The light being, I don't ever have to face these issues again. Because when you suffer from depression in reality, and you suffer from it for long term, you want it to go away. You want to be able to live a life without it, and it may be even to the point that you, in your mind, can't think of an instance where you never dealt with it. You don't understand what life without it is like, or you don't remember. Well, this game presents it where, even as things are getting better, and yes, there are endings where things are getting better, the depression is still there. And that's something we need to remember, that for some people, depression may last a short time, just a few days, or even a few hours and fade away. But it might also be the case that a person suffers from depression which lasts for weeks, months, years, or is even a lifelong struggle. And so the game just kind of gets to a stopping point, and the developers tell us, hey, that's what we're doing. This was on purpose. We just have to be reminded that we have to move forward and take things one day at a time. And I liked that. I also like some of the sound and visual designs. As simplistic as this game may be, there's a joy. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a joy to seeing and hearing the white noise get stronger the more that your character gets depressed. When you are down in the depths, the background makes it hard to see some of the text. The pictures are completely animated with white noise where you can't see anything anymore. And there's even some white noise and some distortion in the background music. And it seems to emulate through the noise and through the sights how our depression can hinder our decision-making process, and even how it can be hard at times just to deal with everyday situations and to process them because you've got all that noise going on around you. So those are the positives that I really found in this game. Now the negatives, one of the major complaints that I read while reviewing this game is how the game seemed to dumb down what depression is to a lot of people, and I have to somewhat agree with that. And again, I want to explain what I mean here. Everyone that faces problems like depression, anxiety, things of that nature, they will face them differently. And I've got to keep that in mind, that this game is the experience of one person. Playing this to get a good idea of what depression is like, you're only getting one real aspect of it in this game. It's so much more difficult to explain other than, well, I don't feel good, I'm having difficulties, or even the idea that's presented at the beginning of this, the character just viewed themselves as lazy. And it may be the fact that they saw how industrious their parents were, and even how industrious their older brother is, and go, I'm lazy compared to these people, and they don't have a proper understanding of what's going on. But at the same time, there does seem to be an understanding of, this is what's going on with my body, what's going on with me, but they still kind of view themselves as being lazy. So that is kind of problematic to me. I do think it would have been a good idea to include multiple people suffering for different reasons. But again, that's just my opinion on this. I also know this is called a game. I have referred to this as a game a few times in this video, but this really isn't a game. There's a lot of reading and making a choice, and I'm not coming down on the developers, but this really seems like I'm scrolling through somebody's webpage, and I'm clicking on links that go along with my decision. It's almost like an online choose-your-own-adventure type deal. And so I have this weirdness about really and truly thinking of this as a game. I also do understand the idea of depression keeping us from making certain decisions which can be the most beneficial to us. That we can be so weighed down in what's going on that we may go, I don't know if I want to do this. But there have been times when those who have been suffering, they're in the depths of depression, but they've been able to pull off many of the actions that we see in this game through sheer willpower. And yes, having them describe the sheer exhaustion they faced after doing this is one thing, but they do point out that it is possible. And I do find it aggravating that there are instances where I might be able to, help improve my life by just going, all right, I've got to push through this. Maybe an option for one-time, power up, for lack of better wording, would be nice, where you had the option to go, okay, I don't feel good, but I'm going to do this. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to do this. it would have been nice. It just seems to me that the more depressed you get, the more difficult in the game it becomes to improve your life. And yes, I understand. The more depressed we get, the more difficult making these simple decisions become. But I don't like presenting the idea that it's absolutely impossible to do them. And that's what I feel like they're doing by striking out certain options the more depressed you get, or not giving you the option to just say, okay, I know how I am, but let's do this at least one time in the game. And those are the negatives that I think. Again, this could take 10 minutes to an hour, so there's not a whole lot I could say about this, other than would I recommend this to a person who wants to know more about depression? No. But that's not the purpose of this game. I don't think this game is trying to give you an exhaustive discussion of what depression is, but to give you kind of a little insight while starting a conversation with others. The big problem is, shortly after this game came out, 2014, the conversation turned for the worst as allegations were made towards one of the developers, but they wanted to create a conversation about depression. Well, this could start a discussion, but I really just have a hard time saying that this is where you need to start out in having that discussion, because it is very lacking. There was some time and effort put forth by developers to try to give a bird's eye view of depression, but the end product, in my opinion, seems a bit bland, and it seems like there's a lot that's left out. So, that's my thoughts on Depression Quest. If you do want to play the game, it is free on Steam. I will give you a link in the discussion box below. If you do take the time to play, or you want to give your thoughts about this, let me know in the comments box below. I appreciate everything that you guys have said, the encouragement that you've been giving me thus far. You have no idea how much I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, to comment, and as always, look out for one another. Love each other. God bless you all. And as always, game in good health.